want to address the jury. We got some green. All right, Cameron Parish Police Jury Agenda Morning Session, Monday, May 6, 2024, 10 o'clock. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. You good, Mary?
Do you have that on a desktop?
There's that laptop.
Can we just go, Mr. President,
Yes.
can we just skip item 3?
Yes.
So they can get the computer running?
CPRA,
Yeah, we're gonna skip that for a second.
yes, 87, Calcasieu, Sabine, large scale marsh and hydraulic restoration project.
Can we skip that one for a second?
Yeah, just move to number 4
Oh.
while we get the presentation loaded, please.
Jackie Revel, CEO, Allen Parish Community Healthcare. Hi there.
Thank you, Mr. President and police jury members, for allowing me to speak here today. I come to you because I've heard through several of your state legislators and Woody Daigle that you guys are looking to put healthcare back in your community. Not sure if you have a plan or what you have going on around healthcare in your community, but I run the local hospital at Allen Parish in Kinder, Louisiana. Have been there 10 years, and we're in the process of rebuilding a new hospital in that community. So we've had a lot of interaction with our police jury there, and we know that police juries and small parishes have limited amount of funds to provide health care to their communities, and we did it on a very slim budget. We also partnered with USDA and got grant money to build that hospital. And so I just wanted to offer our help if you guys needed help in that process. We made a lot of mistakes along the way and learned a lot of things from rebuilding a small community hospital, and we wanted to offer our assistance to you guys if you were on that path. Not sure how far down the path you are or where you're at, but willing to offer assistance in anything that you guys need if you're interested. So.
We have anybody here from the hospital board, Miss Julie?
I don't see anybody. Is there anybody from the hospital board here?
No, thank
So
you.
if
Sure.
you have information for who I can contact that's with the hospital board, I'd be willing to chat with them and help them navigate through some of the waters, because it is difficult to reinstate healthcare, especially if you don't have it currently. Not sure if you have a hospital that's running right now or if it's already been closed down. I've heard both kind of models out there. So
Miss Julie in the green over there, she's the secretary for the hospital board.
Great.
If you wouldn't mind
Yeah.
passing your information along to her,
Yes.
I'm sure she'll relay it back, and any help in the future that they need, I'm sure they'll reach out to you.
Perfect, good.
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much for your time.
Thank you very much.
You good, Mary? Go back to the CPRA.
Technical difficulty, sorry.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Diaz. I am the project manager for the Calcasieu-Sabine Large-Scale Marsh and Hydrologic Restoration Project, CS87. I know some of you might know my counterpart, Katie Freer. She's presented to the police jury in the past, who's here with me. And also Leah Seltzer from Neil Schaefer. She's part of the design team. They've taken the project up to 15% design. So they're here too for any technical design level questions y'all might have about the project. We basically are here. Kara asked us to come and present to the police jury, mainly on the permit application that was recently submitted that came through, but also there's a lot of new faces, and we just wanted to go through some of the background on the project so everybody's kind of brought up to speed on it. All right, so we'll go through some overview and background, and you should all have these slides that were handed out to you. So this project is focused on substantially improving the health of the wetlands in the 65,000 acre Cameron Creole watershed, which borders the Calcasieu Lake in the southwest corner of Louisiana. As you probably all know, the CCW has experienced tremendous land loss over the last century, and for most of that time, the main cause was saltwater intrusion from the deepened Calcasieu Ship Channel through the lake and into the marsh. And in the 1980s, a 19-mile levee was placed on the western edge of Calcasieu Lake with 5 manually operated gates to reduce the saltwater intrusion into the marsh. These 5 gates were operated to maintain the salinity and the water levels within the defined targets, which, while still allowing fisheries access between the lake and the marsh. But following Hurricane Rita, the gates were left open more frequently. Salinities and water levels stayed high, and the marsh was able to recover from the storms. And starting in 2012, we've more rigidly maintained gate closures per the plan and been able to achieve the salinity targets most of the time. Unfortunately, we've seen a drastic decrease in the ability to reach the target water levels since 2016 because the lake water levels are almost always higher than what's in the marsh. So the only meaningful opportunities for excess water to drain from the marsh to the lake come with cold fronts when the gates have to be manually operated or opened at just the right time to let water out of the marsh and then closed again so you don't let that water back into the marsh. So the resulting persistent flood stress is just furthering the marsh vulnerability and the loss in the watershed. So this project seeks to reduce the rate of land loss and to improve the marsh health by tackling the flood stress problem from 2 sides. First, adding substantially more passive drainage capacity to the lake rim to enable the marsh to drain every time a low tide or a cold front provides the opportunity. And 2, to increase the elevation capital through dredge sediment input. So while doing this, we need to be sure to retain the salinity management achievements through the continued operation of those 5 existing gates. The project will be implemented through 2 main components. First, the drainage structures, and 2, through large-scale marsh creation. So we also recognize that it's a rare opportunity to have a restoration investment of this magnitude at one time in Southwest Louisiana. So we're trying to extend the reach of our grant dollars to the maximum extent possible to accomplish our objectives. So this project replaces the discontinued Calcasieu Ship Channel Salinity Control Measures project. So that means that the entire $261 million of the Restore Bucket 1 allocation is dedicated to the engineering and design, the permitting, construction, the O&M, and the monitoring of this project. And in the previous analysis we had done on drainage improvement potential in the marsh, it showed that it was promising, but it needed to be updated and refined with a higher resolution model. So we hired Neil Schaefer and Mott McDonald to develop a regional MIC model to address the gaps from the previous effort. And we used the model to test 5 project alternatives with multiple rounds of sensitivity testing to tweak the features between most runs. We first used the model to distribute the drainage capacity more effectively along the lake rim. And then we use it to test different marsh creation layouts to ensure that they still allow watershed drainage. And we use it to identify and test the effectiveness of conveyance improvements that would help water get to the drainage structures. So the modeling showed that the project performs better in a drier year, but across the whole study period, we see an average water level reduction of 1.9 inches and a peak reduction of 17 inches with our preferred alternative, which is Alt 1 on the graphs. So in the purple right there is our Alt 1. An average reduction of 2 inches might not sound like a lot on its own, but a couple of inches really matter in this landscape. So in the project alternative, with close to the amount of marsh we can build with this project's budget alone, we find that 50% of the time we have 6,300 more acres not flood stressed in a wet year like in 2020, and 9,100 more acres in a dry year like in 2018 than without the project. So just to run through the project features, I'll go through each of these. This map shows project features carried forward to our 15% design. The orange squares that you see with the X's are the 7 lake rim drainage structures that are proposed. That's under A. And then the blue circles with the X's are the 5 existing control structures that are along the lake rim. So for B, for conveyance improvements, the blue lines that you see kind of running behind here, behind the levee in this Barrow Canal, and then here in Grand Bayou and along North and South Prongs, there's 18 miles of channel improvements to improve the drainage from the back of the marsh all the way to the lake rim, and it's focused on those dredging of those historic bayous there. And then in C, the marsh creation, that's all the green polygons that you see there. These are all the areas that were modeled for the project, and there's 7,000 acres proposed there. We think we can build over 2,000 of those using dredge material from the channel improvements and from the Calcasieu Ship Channel. So I just want to note that we over-modeled so that we can build more marsh if we save money on other project features, and then we can focus on the marsh creation. And then there's other programs that continue to do marsh creation in this area, like QIPRA program, and also the LNG facilities that use beneficial use material. So we just wanted to show like the maximum amount that was in the models there. So this is currently our project schedule. We really get the biggest bang for our buck with the gravity drainage, and when we build it as soon as possible. So we've been aggressively targeting a construction phase start for the drainage structures in the first half of next year. The stars kind of show where we are currently. We have submitted the joint permit application on March 7th this year for the lake rim drainage structures and a component of the marsh creation and nourishment with the conveyance channel Barrow clean out. So that's where we are there. We have received the Office of Coastal Management consistency determination already, and we're waiting on our core permit. HDR contractor is currently working on the data collection tasks to complete the 30% design, which will be submitted in the summer of 2024. The 90% design is scheduled for late 2024, and the complete bid package and advertisement for construction is scheduled in early 2025. And then following with the conveyance channel Barrow and the inshore nearshore Barrow, they're kind of on the same track. We have done a piece of the joint permit application submittal in early this year, but the remaining pieces will be modified into that permit in early 2025. Followed by 30% design, 90% design in late 25, and then advertising in early 26. And then for the last column there, the marsh creation with the bud mat, which is jointly through with the Corps of Engineers. They're planning on their 90% design being completed in 2025. And then advertising and construction will be on their dredge cycles, which is in fiscal year 26 and 28, so 2 different years. Also just want to point out the contractors that we have at the bottom, Neil Schaefer, Mott McDonald, HDR, Water Institute, Geoengineers, EMC. All of these contractors have been helping us to move more efficiently and effectively to implementation and have been part of the design team. So now we'll just get in a little bit more into some of the different features for CS87A, the lake rim drainage structures. So as part of the 15% design, Neil Schaefer developed a hydrology and hydrologic model, or an H&H model, to evaluate the performance of the recommended lake rim drainage structures and the preferred alternative. The results from the model outputs helped provide recommendations on the geometric layout of the structures, and it also enabled the evaluation of design details, taking into consideration the hydraulic velocities at the structures. So that's what you see in the top graph with the max velocities. And the potential future scour that's there. So some structures will see higher scour due to the location and proximity to historic bayous and channels. And it also gave us a look at what the project benefits will be as sea level rises over time. So the hydraulic efficiency declines as sea level rises, but even beyond 2050, as you can see in the lower graph, the structures still allow for net outflow, at least equivalent to the present day drainage. So present day is here for 2020, and then this is in 2050. So a joint permit application was submitted on March 7th of this year for the lake rim drainage structures, and that's what we'll go over next. A component of the conveyance channel and Barrow Canal cleanout was included too. So the structure designs will include multiple barreled 60-inch diameter culverts, sheet pile head walls, trash screens, walkways, and timber pile supports on the existing levee. To bring the concept of the project drainage structures to life, these are just renderings of the structures and components at the 15% design phase. So each structure will have between 17 and 31 60-inch culverts, and we consider these on a small, medium, and large scale, with 17 culverts being a small, 23 as a medium, and 31 as a large. So because of their location on the levee, we have to make them as resilient as possible to storm damage and vandalism. So one of the most important components is the backflow prevention devices like flaps or duckbills or check valves. And so those will be installed on each culvert to ensure the water only flows from the marsh into the lake in support of the project goals. And this slide shows a typical drawing of the Peconi South structure. It's the farthest northern structure that we have, and its position on the levee. So on this side here, that's where Calcasieu Lake is, and then this is the marsh side. And you can kind of see these features here. That's rock riprap that will be placed on the levee, and then sheet pile walls will be installed here too, with the walkway in the middle. This is a typical elevation view showing the Peconi structure with the 17 culverts, the timber piles, and the sheet pile wall with the walkway on the top. And then this slide shows a project vicinity map with all of the lake rim drainage features from the application that was submitted. They're all denoted here with the squares, black squares. The access route across Calcasieu Lake is also here. It's marked, and you can see the polygons where the oyster seed grounds are located. Those are all here around the lake rim. Calcasieu Lake is a Tier 2 oyster seed ground. Therefore, there's no disturbance of the water bottoms outside of the proposed work and staging areas. The routes were confirmed with Wildlife and Fisheries, and we may need to require shallow draft barges to access the areas depending on other equipment draft depths. And the access routes are all 60 feet wide. So there's some proposed flotation canals near the structures, and the permit will allow for access between these structures. We can also access from the Barrow Canal on the marsh side as well. So my next two slides just show renditions of what the structures will look like. The first shows a mostly on-ground image of the structure from both the marsh and the lake sides. And then this one is more of an aerial view. All right, so next we'll get into CS87B, the conveyance improvements. The conveyance improvements are the second feature that I had previously mentioned, and they include 18 miles of channel improvements from the back of the marsh to the lake rim. This feature includes the dredging of the historic bayous to improve the drainage in the system. They'll increase the water level reductions. They'll improve the flow pathways to the proposed lake rim drainage structures by removing choke points in the high flow areas. And they'll provide a more concentrated flow path from the eastern marsh to Grand Bayou and then to the lake rim drainage structures. Additionally, our modeling showed that internal conveyance channel improvements will provide an additional 5% improvement to the performance of the proposed lake rim drainage structures in the model design storms. So the light brown polygons that you see there show where Phase 1 cultural resource investigation was conducted and where the potential marsh creation and nourishment areas could be constructed from the conveyance clean-out material. And so this was the other component that I told you was included in the joint permit application. A portion of these polygons were included, were recently submitted, and they were targeted for the permit due to the proximity to the Barrow Canal, which is in this top one is the purple line that runs on the backside. It made more sense to permit them now in conjunction with the lake rim drainage structures given the clean out of the Barrow Canal. So the rest of the marsh creation areas and the conveyance channels, Grand Bayou and the prongs, will be permitted separately in early 2025. Additionally, there were 2 cultural resource sites that were discovered along the Grand Bayou bank line. And just a little update to that slide. The consultation has been completed with SHPO and the tribes with no comments or no further action necessary. Currently, the engineering team continues to refine the placement areas, and to do this have initiated a geotechnical and survey task to start in the coming weeks. Next, we'll just talk a little bit about CS87C, the marsh creation and nourishment. So this is the large-scale marsh creation and nourishment component of the project, and we've estimated to be able to build over 2,000 acres of marsh throughout the CCW. We want to build the best project we can with a substantial restore investment, but we're also constantly looking for opportunities to extend the reach of these dollars. So, for example, we've partnered with the Corps in this northern area for a bud map project. They actually have 1 to 2 projects that they want to do up here. It'll help us extend the reach of our project by building about 400 acres at an 80 to 90% reduced cost to CPRA. And it'll also help support the establishment of a sediment pipeline corridor across the middle of the lake that can be used by projects in the future. Also, this area down here, LNG focus area, is where the LNG facilities have been targeting for their beneficial use. And we've been closely partnering with them and providing feedback to ensure that their plans support our drainage function for this project. And then there's other projects like QIPRA. They've recommended projects in the area, and we complement their program too by one, we've made a recent the Cayman Creole Freshwater Introduction Project. We made it more effective by helping to pull fresh water from the GIWW through the watershed. And then 2, we've helped outline a drainage framework for the watershed and providing flexible examples of how they can build projects that support that. So the main area in the middle, the program focus area, that's a non-bud mat area. It's been evaluated for multiple borrow sources, including the conveyance improvement areas, nearshore Gulf of Mexico borrow area, and the Calcasieu Ship Channel. But due to the dredge distance, costs, and complexity with the landowners, the team has been looking at maximizing the dredge material from the conveyance channels as a close inland source of sediment. Currently, it looks like we'll have more than enough borrow material from the conveyance cleanouts to meet our goals. And last but not least, the bud mat component. So the program will be run by the Corps, who will award and contract the maintenance, dredging, construction. Currently, they're leading the evaluation screening of marsh creation areas, and in this image, they've targeted areas 2, and that's the green polygon here, and area 5, which is in purple. They've also been looking at area 6 as well. But the 2 and 5 are about 400 acres combined. So this program will help us to use material dredged from the Calcasieu Ship Channel beneficially and on a cost share to CPRA to maximize our restore grant dollars for marsh creation. And the program's at a 75% federal and 25% non-federal cost share. So it'll help us reduce our per acre cost by 80 to 90%. The core dredge cycles I had mentioned before are in fiscal years 26 and 28, so that's when we can expect construction on that. Schedule-wise, this part of the project is in the data collection part of E&D. So lastly, just some next steps on our CS87A lake rim drainage. We've submitted our joint permit application for the 7 lake rim drainage structures, and we have HDR currently working toward a 30% design for the summer of 2024. Advertisement is scheduled for early of 2025. For CS87B, the conveyance improvements, the joint permit application has been submitted for that southern Barrow Canal cleanout and the 2 marsh creation cells closest to them. CPRA is currently working on the design of this portion. of the project, and we're evaluating cost or benefits and the cultural resources to determine our final design. And the further permitting will be required, and advertisement is requested estimated in 2026. CS 87C, marsh creation. The design team's looking at maximizing the dredge material from the conveyance improvements to create marsh in the CCW. And depending on the remaining budget, the team will evaluate if constructing some marsh creation with nearshore borrow is feasible or not. And last, again, BudMat, the design implementation report is in development by the Corps. Tentatively selected plan, the TSP, of 2 marsh creation areas was determined in December of 2023, and their field data will be starting to be collected in mid-2024, so coming out real soon. And that's all I have for this morning. Welcome any questions that you may have.
Any questions, Mr. Sam?
I like it.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
The only question I would really have would be about the backflow preventers, but that might be for another time.
Maybe, Melissa, I don't know, any like technical expertise on that.
The backflow preventers that I see on there, they look new to me, like we've never used that type of system before.
So CPRA has used similar type systems, the inline check valve and other projects in the Mermentau before, but the team has been considering all 3 types of backflow prevention devices, so flap gates, inline check valves, and duckbill check valves as well.
So when those backflow preventers get stopped up, y'all have a team that goes out and cleans those?
So they would be maintained by CPRA, that's correct. They also allow for some flushing and self-cleaning if they do get stopped up.
And I would just have 2 questions. It may or may not pertain to y'all, but I'm hearing y'all talk about all the structures along the lake right here in like the Grand Bayou area. Through a lot of the years, I know our founding fathers, they always, in the drainage issues, the main goal is to get water out, but at certain times, not all the time, but at very little times, you want to be able to allow salt water to come in to fight like Sylvania, different things like that for vegetation control. Nowhere's in the presentation I saw that, which I do know it looks like y'all concentrating on this one specific structure. I think Mrs. Stam told me it's mainly to let water out, not in.
Right.
But just to ensure, it's that marsh to me is not a freshwater marsh. It's a brackish, depending on the weather. If we got a bunch of rain, it's going to go out. But in times of in droughts and with vegetation control, because myself and a lot of people down here in Cameron and Creo area, before the storm, we was spending thousands of dollars for Sylvania and stuff like that to get it under control. And another thing I would like to address is there any plans and procedures, just say if we get a bunch of rain, we always let water out. At what point do we allow water to come in to allow the seed and stuff, which I think there are a couple structures. I just want to stay mindful to those 2 things.
Sure. Yeah. There's 5 existing structures that are opened that do allow water to come in and out for that salinity control. So those will continue to be maintained, and they are operated. I think at times when there's like high water events or like those big cold fronts we get in the winter time, I know that they're open during those times to allow more water exchange and fisheries exchange too. So those will still be operated.
Yes, ma'am. I certainly appreciate it. I just wanted to make sure, yourself and the public knew our concerns and that we are concerned about it, and there are structures to allow that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Gulf Coast Soil and Water Conservation.
Good morning. My name is Doug Miller. I'm chairman of the Gulf Coast Soil and Water Conservation District. We also have several representatives from NRCS and Louisiana Ag and Forestry here if we need to answer any questions. A couple of years ago, Gulf Coast Soil and Water Conservation District was asked to sponsor a PL 566 watershed project, which watershed PL 566 projects is a way to fund federal dollars through local entities to improve watershed conditions. So we looked at the district and what areas we had problems, and our first proposal was to look at the North Canal, Bell City Drain Ditch, and Lacassine Bayou areas of the intercoastal. And so we made a proposal to address those in a PL 566 project. Upon doing that, we were told that Jeff Davis Parish and Acadia Parish were also doing similar projects upstream from us. And we were asked if we could continue our project all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, which we did. So we submitted a project that would address all the resource concerns from the Gulf of Mexico to Mermentau, all the way up to the levels of the intercoastal around North Canal, Bell City, and those areas. So during planning phase 1, that project was accepted, and that's where we're at today. So as of right now, we've got a project on the books. There's no project features, there's no project dollars right now, it's a blank slate. So we've got the opportunity to address all the resource concerns in those areas. So having phase 1 completed, we're now moving into phase 2. And phase 2 is gonna be the planning process where we put this project together and develop all the features. But in order to do that, we have to come up with a co-sponsor that would sign off on the operations and maintenance of this project. And it has to be a taxing entity of the parish that would allow us to do that. All that would do would carry us through phase 2 to put this project on paper. So what we're here today is asking the jury if they would be interested in becoming a co-sponsor for this PL 566 project, which could address all the resource concerns in the Mermentau Basin, which could be anything. It could be changing out water control structures, could be dredging all the canals. When we planned the project, there were no features. It was just addressing general concerns and problems. And so there is no cap on the budget of this project. Like again, I said, it's an open slate. So we're here to ask the jury if they would be interested. Now, your next question is gonna be, how much is this gonna cost us? So phase 1 and phase 2, there is no cost. It's 100% funded through NRCS. So even if the jury commits to operation and maintenance, there are no commitments to this until we look at phase 3, when we actually have a project and it goes to construction, which at that point, the district, along with the jury, has an option to back out if we don't feel comfortable or don't see funding available. So even though you're making a commitment today, or if you vote on this to move forward, you're not committing any funds until we get to phase 3 and actually have a project and decide then if we want to become a partner. And if you guys do not want to be a partner, then there may be some other options that can be done, whether it be through a drainage district or some other possibilities that has to be through a taxing entity. So we're here today to ask you if you guys would be interested in becoming a co-sponsor for the Mermentau Basin PL 566 project that needs to be put together.
Yeah, me and Mr. Sonny attended this meeting and talked with Doug and the rest of the guys about it. And all this would do is our sponsorship would just get this to keep going to the next level.
Correct.
All it would do. We wouldn't be on the hook for anything. Believe me, me and Mr. Sonny voiced that many times, and we always have the option, if we don't like it, to say no. But this is just solely to get it to the next step, correct?
Correct.
And there's been a lot of discussion, or there was a lot of discussion in that meeting about where to start. So there's a lot more planning to
Right. This is going to be just the beginning. We'll have public meetings. We'll have all the agencies will have to come together. It's just the beginning of a long-winded project, but we cannot move forward until we have a co-sponsor for operation and maintenance.
And Mr. Doug, a question, to undergo these projects and that, is this gonna have anything to do with the actual intercoastal also?
Yes, so our project area includes basically from the Gulf, following the river up, and we still included the North Canal, Bell City Drain Ditch, and those drainage watersheds that come into that. So yes, that's all part of the project area to be discussed.
Yes, sir, because I know I got quite a few issues up around the North Canal and that, But mostly, I remember like it was yesterday, I watched Mr. Lee Falk up here talk about them holding the intercoastal a foot above normal. Do you know any particulars on that or anything, or if that would be something we could address? Because I like getting it to the next level, and to me, that's a start if that was true to help
So
y'all in
the
y'all's.
first stage of this project would be to address all of the concerns, of which that's certainly a valid point, that we would bring in all the players, whether it be the Corps and all the CPRA and those agencies, and that would certainly be a question to ask, and that could be part of the resolution.
No,
Right.
absolutely.
Part of this could be, just a continuation, unless I'm wrong, continuation of rocks and, maybe down the intercoastal and maybe rocking off portions of these lakes and backfilling with some of this spoil. I mean, all this is kind of.
Yeah, there are absolutely no project features at this point, other than that we've addressed what our problems are, which is high water, erosion, saltwater intrusion. And so this, if whatever happens here, if we move forward, then we would start the planning process and bring everyone to the table and start addressing all the needs and whatever one thinks needs to happen.
Yes, sir. I think that would be very beneficial for Cameron Parish to be on board with. So I thank you for that, Mr. Doug.
Any other questions?
Has there been any more, talk about maybe, on the lower end of the Mermentau? Or we're gonna have some more meetings on this?
Well, if you guys sign on and we move to the next step, then it'll be full move forward and we would address every problem. And we would rely on you guys a lot to help build the features, because we're gonna rely on you guys to come up with solutions also.
Any more questions?
I guess I'll add one more. Just say like we're to be a sponsor or to do whatever we plan on doing. Would we be able to bring, say, like our concerns also along with y'all's and collaborate and work together just to?
Yeah, and so to give you an idea, the Cameron Creel watershed is probably one of the last big PL 566 projects. That's how that project was implemented. So we're looking at a project, it's not gonna be solved overnight. We're looking at multiple years of probably planning before we ever get this thing moving. But this is the very beginning, and until we find a co-sponsor, we can't move forward.
Yes, and from what I see, the government side moves very slow, so the sooner the better, So I see this being very beneficial, and it looks like Mr. Sam does also.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Cameron Fisheries discussion.
You wanna do the green card first?
Yep, let me get the green card first.
Oh, good.
Hang on just a
I'm
second.
just here to answer any questions, John.
All right, Michelle Long.
My name is Michelle Long. I'm the chairman of the Cameron Parish Beachfront Development District 1. That covers from the Causeway Bridge to the ship channel. And we've been working hard the last few years. And we just had our last beach sweep. We had about 170 people, including our EMS, fire, everyone. But the reason why I'm here today is because a lot of times we have people that in the parish, I feel like they have a thankless job. And they get a lot of concerns addressed to them, but never a lot of attaboys. And I want to give an attaboy today. I wrote a letter, Miss Mary, when I was in Baton Rouge the other day, she said, "What are you doing Monday?" And I said, "I don't know." And she said, "I'd like for you to read your letter to the board." And so, if you just give me a minute. And this was to the Cameron Parish Roads and Bridges.
Mr.
Mr. Shane. I hope this letter finds you well. On behalf of the entire Love the Boot, Keep Cameron Parish Beautiful team, I'm writing to express our deep gratitude for the Cameron Parish Roads and Bridges generous sponsorship of collecting all the trash the volunteers picked up at the recent cleanup. And an aside to that, our Cameron Parish Roads and Bridges from Johnson Bayou has been doing it 2 times a year for years. And after we pick everything up, it goes to the road, and then they come and pick it all up and get it down to the dump. Your commitment to environmental stewardship and community engagement is truly commendable. Thanks to your support, we are able to organize a successful cleanup effort that made a significant impact on the beauty and cleanliness of our beloved beaches in Cameron Parish. Your contribution served as a testament to your dedication to the well-being of our environment. Moreover, your sponsorship helped us raise awareness about the importance of environmental conservation and inspired others to take action in their own communities. By partnering with organizations like Cameron Parish Road and Bridges, we are paving the way for a cleaner, greener future for generations to come. And with the beachfront development, we have a little motto: when industry, parish government, and community come together, great things can happen. Once again, thank you for your invaluable support. We look forward to continuing our partnership in creating positive change for our environment and our community. The Road and Bridges crew in Johnson Bayou, if you start at the Causeway Bridge, we had, they worked on the parking, we cleaned it up, we got it going about 2 years ago. Come on down, go to Mays Beach. They put signs up to let our tourists know how to act and what to do. Go on down to Long Beach. Because of what happened 2 years ago, we put up rip current signs on all the beaches, because the coroner said, out of everyone who has passed away due to drownings, it's been because they were not aware of how to swim in coastal waters. And so we put the signage up about riptides and what to do. They cleaned the Holly Beach boulevards so that our beachgoers could park there rather than on other people's property. They worked with NOAA the other day. We had a dolphin that was, it was deceased. And after NOAA did all of their work, our Road and Bridges crew came out and took care of the body. So we have a lot going on in Johnson Bayou, and we appreciate what Shane and his crew have been doing, and attaboy.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Hey, if I can, I'd just like to echo the appreciation, because it's not just in the Johnson Bayou and Beach area. Roads and Bridges is doing an outstanding job in Hackberry, and I think it's key. Together we can make a difference, because our local L&Gs really stepped up here recently and helped us pick up the trash. We was able to clean more of the right-of-ways. Outstanding job, Shane. Outstanding job to the industrials. And it's true from the heart. Together we can make a difference and make our parish look great. So starts with you, Shane, and thank you very much, and your guys.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, of course, I come here today to do the sole purpose to Road and Bridge and another entity within the parish to send out some letters, because I've been having a lot of moving parts in my district, and I put a lot of strain on more than their day-to-day activities. So I would like to request a letter of appreciation to not only Mr. Shane, but Mr. Tom Barrett's office and the staff, Ms. Murray, if you wouldn't mind, and also to Mr. Shane and the Cameron, Griot, and Grand Chenier Road and Bridge I would like the Road and Bridge employees to specifically each get a letter of appreciation. And I certainly appreciate it, as well as the citizens I represent. They're noticing the difference, and it's all because of y'all. So thank you.
Ms. Mary, please include employees of Hackberry as well.
Good. All right, thanks again, Mr. Shea. Cameron Fisheries, discussion.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm your general counsel as well as the port's general counsel, and I'm just here to answer any questions. I don't know really if any of this can be directed to any of the lease or the contract issues, but I'm here to help you with any questions.
I think we have anybody from the port here today.
No, sir, and I was gonna handle that for Miss Kim. She was scheduled to be out today before we moved our police jury meeting, and she couldn't reschedule. So, I think today we just need to talk about the future of Cameron Fisheries. The port has decided that they want to serve more of a support role to the jury. They don't wanna take lead in directing and ownership and operation of that facility. They just wanna serve, like I said, in that support role. So it is up to you guys to decide what the future of that building is and what you want to invest in it. Currently, right now, we only have a budget to pay for insurance. So if you guys want to take a more direct approach, whatever your strategy is, we will need to do a budget amendment. But other than that, I think it's important to note that we did have a meeting with the local fishermen about a month ago. They expressed the need for ice. They really didn't think that the operational processing facility was operating in any way that really benefited them, but they did desperately need ice, so that was their one request to the jury and to the port, was to figure out a way to make ice available to them 24/7 whenever they needed it. And so with that, I think I'll open it up. I guess Mr. Barrett said we're here to answer questions, but I think we just need to have an open dialogue about what you guys want to see and direct our staff on how to proceed.
Give you a little background just on the contractual setup, okay, what does this look like? So there's a couple of different owners of the property, primarily the Henry family and some entities. And so the port leased that property from the Henry family. And then in turn, so that's one contract. Then the port contracted with Tommy Seafood, who was the operator for the last 4 or 5 years. So that was another contract to lease it to Tommy Seafood. Tommy Seafood has made it clear that they're out. They haven't been really operating for some time now. So those are 2 contracts. And then there was another contract which was between the police jury and the port, where of that understanding, where the port would basically operate the facilities and lease and sublease it to an operator. So those are all the contracts involved. On the lease with the property owners, there is what I call a 2-year grace period. So the property owners are entitled to an annual payment. The operator typically paid the port, and in turn the port would pay the property owners. But in the event that there's not an operator, and you want to take this time, and it can be again up to 2 years, to try to either find an operator or just decide what you want to do, then we just need some guidance from you, so we could let the property owners know that unfortunately we're in a phase of the operations where we don't have an operator. The police jury would like to invoke this grace period to try to find either an operator or make decisions about what you want to do. So that's where I just need your guidance, if you want to invoke that grace period, or do you just want out? Hey, we're walking away. So that's what I'm looking for. You don't have to decide today. I mean, it's a big decision, and I think y'all need to have some conversation about what you want to do.
I know I've been doing a lot of footwork myself, and I know Mr. Sonny been heavily involved trying to help the fishermen. However, doing footwork, I found out this building has no tax base funded or anything to that nature. So I got a few ideas I'd like to present to the jury and open to the public. And also, before we start, Mr. Tom, it concerns me about this equipment. now that the port stepped away, is that gonna be our responsibility to, foresee to getting the equipment back that Mr. Thomas?
Well, I spoke to Kim Monte last week about meeting with, Tommy Seafood, and I think maybe Katie might have been involved. There's supposed to be a meet, and one of your employees was helping with identifying some things. We're working on that.
Yeah, so I guess.
I'm involved, whether the port or,
Yes.
both offices, the port.
So I guess my concern would be, how do we get it back? And we need to get it back as quickly as possible because it should have been back as soon as the storm passed. We appreciate them for taking it out. But also, from my understanding, 95% of this equipment, we're not gonna need, or use if we had a third party here. So I would like to see getting that equipment back pretty quickly to, I think we talked about auctioning it off if we don't need it. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'd like to see the insurance money go solely to the ICE at the moment. Any money we make off the equipment, I'd like to see it go solely to the ICE. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we got to be good stewards with the people's money. This building has no tax base, so it has no ground to stand on. I don't know how long we could do it for, but I think the building's there, the ice machines are there, we got insurance money and whatever we may or may not make off this equipment. I would like to see us at least go out on a limb if we don't get an operator and utilize this money solely for the ice. And when we run out of this money, we could go to the next drawing board or punt or at least see if by that time somebody may come in to pick it up. But I think we at least owe it to them, being we got a building and everything, to utilize the money that we have instead of just walking away to try to do something. And I mean, that's more or less my goal. I know a month ago I thought we was on the right track. I thought it was gonna be picked up and found, but I think we kinda stayed in limbo, so I kinda pushed pretty concerning with Mr. Arnold and the staff to get this on the agenda to try to get a path forward today. And it's gonna take all of us up here, not just myself, so.
To give you a little more background, so May 14th or 15th is when the equipment's supposed to be delivered. Tommy Seafood has invoices of things that they said that they did after the hurricane they want to be reimbursed for. We're reviewing and studying those invoices. So that's what's happening. So May 14th, 15th is supposed to be the return date of all that equipment. And then we've got one, I think somebody in your office is gonna, when it gets here, we'll take a look at it and see the condition and evaluate those kind of things. So just to give you an update of what.
I guess I don't want to get too much in the legal side. Maybe we probably do that in executive session over it. Probably would be the better place for it. We concerns about the equipment and our stuff like that. So I'll kind of leave that at bay for another time.
Good. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think it was mentioned that possibly in order to get our facts straight and being as the Port Board wants to work with us as far as helping us any way they can, it was mentioned maybe to have a meeting with a few board members of ours and theirs where we can get the facts straight for us to be able to make a decision on this. I mean, there's a lot of things being thrown out there that, like I said, this is not going to be, it's not designed, I guess, the way we see it now as being a profitable move for us. But yes, we'd also don't want to lose our behinds to do it. So we have to get all the facts before we can make a decision. So if we can put some type of meeting together and at least put a basis for our decisions.
What I'd sent an email to Katie that she may have shared with y'all. Ultimately, I suggested that y'all have a committee of 3 people. The port would have a committee of less than a quorum, so that y'all could just meet and talk about their experience with it, and any questions y'all might, and then your committee can come back to you and update you. That's how kind of these things usually happen. So that's up to you guys.
I guess my biggest point, and Mr. Sonny's not here today with us because I know it's pretty much in me and his areas. We've been getting beat up and for good reason, you know, as far as getting complaints. My thing is we've been paying 70-something thousand a year in insurance. Never once have we got reimbursed or broke even. We always went in the hole with this building. The port broke even. They got the leaser to pay the lease. They paid the utilities and that. So we've always been going in the hole. I don't know the legality of dropping the insurance or what, but right now I only see two options. Either we let Mr. Henry take a building back and we walk away from the fishermen, or we utilize the building and what money we got and put it to help them. And hopefully, just hopefully, in doing that, maybe we'll prolong it long enough for somebody to come in and pick it up, and hopefully it can prosper. But until then, I really truly think we need to get the ball moving on the ice. The legality and equipment stuff, I agree with Mr. Johnny as far as setting up a meeting and all that. But as far as a path forward with the money that we do have, until we get a better idea, a sense, I truly believe we should utilize that money to help these fishermen get ice, because I think in, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, the season's starting. There's another place that buys and sells shrimp and crabs and different stuff, and just their facility's not gonna keep up with the ice for them to even buy the shrimp from the fishermen, from what I'm being told. So I'm really pressing the issue on hopefully we could utilize the money that we have from insurance. I definitely don't wanna dip in general funds or start any extra money going to it that's not dedicated to it at the moment. I hope we don't have to do that, or until we do or make a decision. I think right now with the insurance money, I would like to see us utilize it and get something going for it.
One more thing I suggest, if it's not committee meetings, is, come to a port board meeting and you can have, we can put it on the agenda of the port, and you can have an open meeting with the port right then and there. I mean, they'll answer all your questions. But anyway, however you wanna handle it and however you think best accomplishes y'all's objectives. So.
Let me make sure I understand right. I know Katie's, I guess, sitting in for Ms. Kim, but the port is working with you to get this equipment back.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Yeah, although the port, I think, has expressed their desire to walk away from the building, Kim and I are not walking away from the obligation of getting this equipment back and resolving the issue about their reimbursements of whatever they claim. I mean, we're actively working on that. And Katie's been somewhat involved as well, so
Okay.
that will not go without. Whether it's Katie and I, Kim and all of us, we will address that issue.
Yeah, we just wanna make sure we get that
Absolutely, absolutely,
corrected. And,
for sure. All right.
And just one more thing for the record, me and Mark actually spoke with the president of the port board along with Miss Kim, and we're using the term walk away. They actually were doing this to assist us to expedite the movement. So it's not necessarily that they're walking away, they did this to assist us, and they're still there trying to help us, reach the ice where we're trying to head. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Right. And Mark, thank you. My staff appreciates the acknowledgement of what they do for all of y'all. And then look, we do it without any thanks, and all of us do our job with, most of the time what we hear are the concerns or the complaints, and to get some acknowledgement. I'm sure everybody appreciates that. Thank you.
I just wanna give credit where credit's due, Mr.
Thank
Tom.
you.
I
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Tom.
Right.
And, Mr. Phillip, I didn't know you had a green card, sorry.
I didn't know who to give it to. We got a season gonna open up in 10 days. The problem we got no ice. If they're gonna, the building don't mean nothing to us no more. I talked to a lot of the fishermen. Some wanna save it, some don't. We got 15, 16 boats in Cameron left. We got one shop that's operating, getting ready to start operating. Ice is the most important to us right now. If not, y'all wanna sell the building, sell the stuff in the building. Just cut the ice out of the business. Take the money y'all get for the building and y'all get for the machinery to pull chill tanks on the boat. Costs about $8,000 per boat. You got about 15 boats. You had to cut all the ice out, you never got to fight ice again. Most of your boats are gone today. The problem we got, we can't sell our shrimp, we can't get no ice, we can't work. You can't work, you can't make money. So without ice, We dead in the water. Tad and them got 2 ice machines, one's down, they got a 1 3-ton unit. You take 15 boats, you unload the boats, that ice is gone. It takes more ice to re-ice shrimp it does to catch them. Not only we got to catch the shrimp, we got to have ice to catch them, then we got to have the ice to retail our shrimp. So if the ice become a problem, and y'all want to get rid of all the stuff in the building, I've been in a long time. I mean, I done come to a point that building mean nothing to me.
Mr. Phillip, I don't mean to cut you off. On average, because I know you've been doing it for a long time, buying ice in say a year or a season, about how much do you spend on ice?
Last week, I worked 6 days. My son's boat and my boat. We got 2 boats, 2 steel boats. And we used $600 with ice in 5 days.
In 5 days?
In 5 days, $600 with ice.
Each.
That's per boat, 2 boats, yeah.
Yes. So, 15 boats, you would say these other boats, because I know y'all pretty tight. They probably shrimping when you're shrimping, and they're probably using just as much ice.
Probably as much, yeah. Some of them use more, some use less.
And the reason why I'm saying this, because again, I hope y'all understand that we don't have a tax base for this building.
I understand that. That's why I'm saying we done come to a point that building mean nothing to us anymore.
Yes.
All we need is ice. If you want to sell sell it all. Just help us put chill. Don't pay it all. Maybe get grants to help us put chill tanks on the boat. Don't worry about the ice.
Yeah, I don't know about the legality of just buying some tanks to put on your boat. I don't know if that's possible. But I do know that if we could utilize this insurance money, I would think, on my behalf, in my opinion, that if we could utilize the insurance money to get this ice machine going, not worry about the building and all that, and hopefully one day somebody comes, but
hopefully.
I think we went to the end of the earth. No, it's not feasible, from what I'm understanding.
When they first put this fish house together, they was open 1.5 years. They would not buy shrimp, only crabs, only snapper. That building didn't buy. I raised so much hell up here that made them buy shrimp.
Yes,
That's built for all the fishermen, not just one sided. But you got snapper boats, they need ice. They take a bunch of ice when they go, but they go once or twice a month. So,
yep. So
fuel tanks ain't gonna help them. You still gonna need ice. And the pellet shrimp, you still need ice.
yeah, and from what I understand, and say y'all got chill tanks on y'all's boat. If y'all come to the docks, y'all still gonna need ice to transport.
You still gonna need ice to transport.
So I know me and Mr. Sonny's pushing very hard to try to do something, but it's hard to squeeze orange juice out of a turnip, you know?
I know the feeling. I've been
So-
doing it for the last 20 years.
So I guess what I'm saying is just kind of you coming here and telling us the ice, if we could utilize this money to get the ice, just solely the ice going, I think in the meeting we had, that's the main concern.
Yeah, I mean, that building don't mean nothing to us. I mean, we going out, we going around it now, we don't need it. I mean, we need ice.
Yes, sir. And I think just you coming, giving us a pinpoint, it might, if we charge for the ice, which we don't know what to charge and how much to charge yet, but if we could get it to where we charging enough to pay the utilities and run off this insurance money, and maybe something in the future will pop up. But for now, we could help. I think we could help now and here. I don't know how long we'll be able to prolong it for, depending on the funds and that, because again, at the end of the day, we want to help, but there's no tax base just for this building. So I don't know how the fellow jurors or myself would be. I don't know how we would be good stewards to go out, because I think just roughly to kind of give y'all a perspective, we're paying like $77,000, somewhere around there, don't quote me, in insurance. The lease, I think, is $18,000. And then I think it was like $72,000 for utilities in a 12-month period. So you're knocking $200,000.
Oh, yeah.
So I just kind of want to express that, but we are working very hard to try to do something for y'all, and I know y'all season's coming up very close.
Yeah, very quick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip.
Thank you. Right, review, have y'all reviewed the agenda?
Before we move move on, Mr. President, I think, are we going to do the subcommittee idea? Do you want to direct us to start looking at cost to fix the ice house? I mean, the staff kind of needs some direction. Right now, I don't really have any authority to do anything. So if y'all are wanting to invest in any strategy or appoint a subcommittee to go and work on it and kind of give us a little bit of direction, we're gonna need you guys to say something this meeting. Otherwise, we'll have to call like a special meeting.
I know we was actively already fixing the ice machines without a vote.
An ice machine's fixed, and the other one, they are preparing a scope of work to fix the second
That's
one.
right. So we was already doing that. So are you needing a vote or just maybe a head count of who's in favor of just utilizing the funds?
Yeah. Well, as it currently stands, you aren't the leaseholder of the property where the building's located. The only authority you had over that building and what was being conducted was because of your CEA with the port. Now that the port has expressed interest in turning everything over, and I say this, I wanted to make sure, Michael said it too, they're not walking away, they're getting out of our way. They want to get out of the way of the police jury and let the police jury work directly with the fishermen and manage the building that they own. We're gonna have to do something legally binding for you guys to invest money in that property.
From my understanding, the lease was up April 1st. Did they renew?
Mr. Tom touched on that. We have a 2-year grace period. The problem is we don't have the port right now. We're gonna have to amend the CEA probably to give us the authority to continue working out there.
But I, in one of several emails, advised Kim that under the lease with the operator had to give us written notice within 120 days, and I don't think technically they've given us that written notice. So she was going to work on getting that written notice from Tommy Seafood that they're terminating. Then the next step would be me calling the Henry lawyer, the property owner's lawyer, and saying, hey, we need to renegotiate or do something with the lease on the property, because I expect the police jury's going to take over the building, the port's going to get out of the way, so that y'all can decide what y'all want to do, and just let them know what's going on.
I guess to start the endeavor, or like I said, I'm not looking to dip into any other funds at the moment. What I'm looking to do on behalf of the fishermen is utilize the insurance money. So I guess for the staff or anybody to proceed, maybe we could do an add-on just to do the lease for 1 year and give her permission to, or how would that work, Mr. Tom?
Thomas, is that really necessary? I mean, if we have the 2-year grace period.
Well, so your cooperative endeavor agreement between the police jury and the port says that that agreement terminates when the ground lease terminates, meaning the lease with the Henry group. But we don't want to terminate, the port doesn't, I don't think the police jury wants to terminate that ground lease. We want to keep that. So that's why I'd like to, a one-page declaration of the police jury and the port saying that we are terminating the cooperative endeavor between the port and the police jury, and that the police jury will take over the ground lease, basically. So now the police jury will be dealing with the property owners directly. Yes. And on y'all's behalf, I would contact the ground owner. Just let them know what's going on. We want to continue to occupy or keep the building, and we're working on trying to figure out and invoke our 2-year grace period.
Yes, well,
that would be.
If we, to me, if we're actively looking to sell ice, and I think I was talking the best way and to stretch out the funds, it's kind of like an honor system. Instead of hiring an employee and spending a bunch of money, you could get, there's all kind of different card types, because there's a door to get to the ice, so on and so forth. I think there's a lot of technology nowadays that would allow us to do this for the fishermen. And of course, if something happens, I know there was concern about vandalism and taking ice. Well, we'll have cameras in that if that happens. I mean, we're doing it for them. I'm sure they'll respect that, and we'll work together. But, I think at the bare minimum today, for my district and to help the fishermen, would like us maybe, if we have to vote on it, or just give guidance for the lease, because I think if, we might not have a third party coming in, but we'll be occupying using it. So I think we would have to, do the lease. Miss Wendy, you got something?
Tom, it's been a while since I read that lease, but doesn't it say we have to maintain liability insurance on that property?
I'll have to look at the specific.
I think it's 1 million, but we have a $2 million policy, which cost us about 7,000 on that facility alone.
Yes.
Okay. You
So
had
that's
asked me
for
on
the,
Friday, and I haven't had a chance to tell you.
That's for the liability, right?
That's just liability on the facilities, the grounds, the dock, the buildings, the facility, everything
Yes.
that's encapsulated in that, on that property.
Yes, ma'am. And Miss Katie, I know we're paying a good sum of insurance. What's the
Your total-
legality of dropping that? Because right now we're at a crucial moment and stuff, and utilizing maybe just the budget that we've been spending just on insurance to continue the ice endeavor until somebody comes, and I know it's a gamble if a storm or something comes, but I mean, it went through a storm already, actually two, and it's in the condition it's in. It's just, I'm trying to do everything to stretch it to help these fishermen.
I'll tell you what, if you'll put this as an add-on, if you so choose, primarily just to vote on taking over the ground lease from the port. And then that will give me the ability to call their lawyer and email him and say, hey, this is what's going on. The police jury's taking over the position of the port on this ground lease, and we need to work out a few details. One may be, we can't afford to pay you, even without the grace period. Look, it's not, the building has not developed as we had hoped and expected. We don't have an operator working on trying to provide ice to the fishermen, so the objective is narrowed down to just providing ice. So can we amend what we pay them annually? Can we reduce the liability and or property casualty, whatever obligations on insurance we may have? Again, I will work with trying to minimize our financial obligations to the property owners of that ground lease.
I think as far as the lease goes, I don't know what they entitled with insurance and that, but I think at 18,000, I don't think it's too far-fetched, and I think we could probably pull it off. My thing is the actual insurance on the building, and just basically getting something moving, attention upon, or however you want to word it technically, before we make a decision to say, hey, this is what we're going to do for X amount of time, no matter what. We just looking for something here and now while we work out the details on the future. If that way y'all can kind of better understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so I would just, again, need from y'all to agree, if you're gonna agree to take over the ground lease from the port, and that way I can communicate that to the Henry family through their lawyers and try to start looking at some of the terms of that ground lease that might be able to financially benefit the police jury. So that,
And
in that time frame, though, can you do it within the time frame that we actually need?
what's the time frame?
Well, what is it, in May that they start?
10 days, you said.
I know it's not gonna happen.
I'll start today.
No, but what I guess what I'm saying is, if the port is there some way that they can delay their decision until we can actually, in order to get this, if we decide to get this ice machine business going, would they give us, a month or two, whatever time it takes in the legal point of it,
I don't know what,
to swap it?
Well, the problem
I think
I'm
it's
seeing.
kind of like this, Tom. As us being a governing authority, do we have to move right now? I mean, the port did not terminate a lease.
no, the port has not terminated the ground lease.
Correct.
They didn't renew it though as of April 1st, so technically.
Well, we owe a payment.
Okay.
And so I owe a phone call to the attorney to tell him, explain what's going on. And that explanation could or could not include that, hey, the police jury is going to take over the ground lease with, and have that conversation. If that's what y'all agree to do.
So say if we just can we continue with the lease under their
Yeah, it would.
circumstances?
You would basically, the port would assign you the lease rights. You would step into the shoes of the port. You'd be the leasing it from, you would be leasing from the property owners. You would be controlling the building. You'd be controlling the use of the building, who operates, or whether it's just ICE. You would control everything. Where the port has done that up until now, you would step into those shoes. Again, the property owner would have to approve it. I don't expect that to be a problem. And then again, negotiate some of the terms of that lease.
So I guess without getting too much in the weeds and to me to stay on track with getting the ice, to me the fastest, easiest way is to get a check or vote for us to obtain the lease for the 18,000, whatever the port was doing, to where we could actively fix the ice machines, and when and if we fix them, to be able to dispense it or disperse it or sell it, however you want to word it. I think that would be as far as the legal side, the quickest and easiest route.
But I think what Tom's stating is it could be as simple as a phone call, and that 18,000 might turn into 6,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll work on that. What you all decide, one is, do you want to take over the lease from the port? That's number one. And number two, just logistically, if you want to start spending money to make improvements to sell ice. I mean, but those are two separate questions.
All right, that'll work. Thank you, Mr. Tom.
I got a couple of questions for you. So one, I believe my understanding is Tommy Seafood hasn't delivered a notice to terminate.
As far as I know, no, that's as of last week, we haven't had a written.
So,
Yeah.
my question, are they on the hook for the 18,000 now due over 30 days?
No, well, no, they wouldn't, arguably maybe prorate it, because it's a 4-month deal. I mean, basically, they're supposed to give us 4 months notice.
Right. So, my other question is, with the term of the lease now, if we walk away, does Mr. Henry want his property back into a parking lot?
Now, I don't know the answer to that question. Typically, and
We need to know that before taking the lease, you know?
yeah, so in the email, I said I'd have to check on what happens to the building. So if the port and the police jury say we can't make it work, we're gonna cancel the ground lease. So typically, the improvements, which is the building, would just go to the property owner.
I know, because I spoke with Mr. Newt at the Lighthouse Bend a while back, and hopefully he don't get upset with me for saying this, but he's good with the building and everything, but he did mention that if the police jury did not want it, and it went back to solely him, that if he had to pay 1 cent of taxes, the building might not be there. So he's good with everything. It just, he don't want to take on any financial responsibility with this building, from my understanding.
Well, with that being said, Tom, if we couldn't find a third party for the second building, not just the ice, would it be possible maybe to renegotiate a contract just to have the ice machine?
Yeah, that would be one of my objectives, is to explain to them that all we're doing is, for now, is selling ice. In the event that something develops and there becomes an operator, and we may have a tiered system lease with the property owners where we pay them X dollars for just operating an ice machine, and we pay them more if an operator comes on board.
We just held insurance just solely on the, I guess the liability end, which we'd have to, and then, maybe put a little bit of insurance on the ice machine.
I'll study the contract closely on the insurance obligations, because now I realize it's, the cost of the injury, and see what we can do, among other things.
Can we have that answer tomorrow? I'm just joking.
I'll have the request out by today.
So, I guess in the Cameron Fisheries discussion, I know Mr. Sonny would probably be backing me, but he's not here today. So I guess me as a juror, most of these fishermen are in my area as well as Sonny's, and some of them even probably in y'all's areas. I guess I would be asking for support to get this ball rolling, but definitely not to commit and set us in stone to dip into funds that's not already. So I just want to utilize the insurance money to see where we can get, where we could go, and after that, I mean, it's unknown, So I would like that support, if we could get to that today. So.
And I wouldn't have a problem with it for the simple reason the insurance money came from that location. So if we put it back into the building, even though it doesn't fly, it hasn't come out of anybody's pocket. It was money that was designed to rebuild the area. So I would have no problems going that far with it.
Yes, sir. Like I said, that's all
And
I.
it gives us time to get questions answered, because it's hard to make a decision on that when you don't have all the facts and figures.
Yeah.
And the facts and figures could very well change depending on his negotiations with the lease owner.
Yep.
Because we're not leasing everything, and then that determines a lot.
Yes,
At
sir.
least if we put the insurance money back into it, try and get this thing rolling for their shrimping season, and at least buy us time to figure out where we want to go with it.
Yeah, I know there's gonna be a lot of moving parts, that's why I'm kinda just asking,
Yeah.
just to utilize what's there, to start it, and, if those funds deplete, and we all say, hey, we don't wanna spend a dime of no other money, I mean, we tried.
made the effort.
We made the effort, we tried, we utilized the money that's there, so, regardless of the outcome, cause I don't know it, but I think we would be good stewards to at least utilize what's there for now, because I know it's gonna take us a month, 2, maybe even 3 to work out all these details. And then, in the meantime, hopefully we can maybe just start distributing ice for a month or 2 months while we work on the bigger plan. And, say if the funds stop, well, we just at a standstill until we figure out whether yes or no, but it's definitely gonna be a hard decision both ways in trying to find funds and stuff like that for this building, so, that's all I would be asking for.
You have an email dated May 2nd from Katie that has some dollar figures in it. It's not in your package, but you have an email, that just have some dollar figures to give you some idea in case you wanna try to vote on that this afternoon about the repairs to that other ice machine.
Yes, sir.
Stuff like that.
So the add-on as of right now is for the police jury to assume the ground lease from the port for the Cameron Fisheries property.
Yes, need that to happen, and then before your next meeting, then hopefully we have some financial information to make a decision about what to do.
And also, we could do a second one, just using the funds allocated from the insurance for, say, our staff to start on this or proceed how we was before.
Thank you, Mr. Tom.
If voted on.
All right. Good, Mary?
Yeah, the second one's gonna be to utilize insurance funds from Cameron Fisheries to move forward with ice machine, repairs.
Motion to add it on, huh? That on the,
Yeah, y'all can review your agendas, and we add it to the voting meeting for y'all to actually vote on.
go ahead.
For reviewing the agenda number 28, I don't know if, where we're at, like if Mr. Tom got in touch with that lawyer about the Mirier Fire Station,
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that.
cause I think that kind of is a deciding factor.
So, did they get the email with that $70,000 figure? Okay, so we received an email from council for the, Palmer Construction that had I have it. It's about $77,000 that they say in expenses that they haven't billed us for. We forwarded that to our architect on the job, who's been very involved in this process, and, I think their answer back was that's reasonable. So, this is what it looks like. That's from the construction company. Shows what they, the expenses they've incurred, some of it's some contractor, subcontractor invoices, what they've been paid, the retainer of 10%, and some of the invoicing they already did, and what's left is 77,000 of unpaid invoices. And, so that's it. That's the figure for everybody to reimburse the contractor, $77,366.42, and everybody, we mutually cancel the contract and you can move forward with your plans.
Okay. Mr. President, I noticed Mr. Logan's here. I don't know if we can maybe get some insight on if that's feasible and doable to pay that in their project, or if we.
As long as we're seeing a reduction for the damage of the generators and the fallen walls, that was damaged on their behalf during the contract. I mean,
And that's a good point.
What we gotta do to break the contract, our board is.
I don't have those numbers. You have, anybody have any, do we have those?
I think we need to talk about this
Okay.
in an
All right.
executive session.
So do we need to table it? That's why I was asking. I knew there was a lot of moving factors.
I'd like to add that to
This is-
executive session, which we can do.
Okay.
Potential litigation.
You'll have to vote on adding it as an add-on, but for the sake of the agenda, we have to have, it's executive session regarding a dispute with your contractor, and that dispute, is sufficient to get us, under the litigation exception for the executive session, and is to resolve the contract with Alpha Palmer over the Murier Fire Station.
Okay. That'll work. I just wanted to make sure we covered all those moving parts.
No, I'm glad, no, that is a good point.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right, we're wearing him out. Anything else? I think, you have something on a permit, Mr. Michael?
Mr. President, I think we're gonna go through the agenda, a few things with the staff members like we did last meeting, and I think we'll probably address most of your questions that
Okay.
you're gonna have today. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So, the first agenda item that I'd like to address with you guys is 11 and 15E. Those two are agenda items about adopting that Acadiana watershed resolution. We're going to participate. That is what used to be the Louisiana watershed of Region 5. At last meeting, if you recall, they addressed us, asked us to participate. You agreed. So we're going through the motion of adopting that in our ordinance, creating that district. And typically they request the designee to be the president, but we would ask for this jury to appoint Kara Bonsall, your Coastal Affairs Director, as your designee and representative on this district. So that is on your agenda. That's 15E. The next agenda item, I'm sorry, do you have a question, Mr. Sam? No?
This is us agreeing to be on this watershed district, Cameron Parish, it's solely, I mean, we still gonna have a vote on what happens. We're gonna have a say.
Yes.
Anything we don't like will be rejected if we give one vote.
So you're one of 16 votes. Every parish president in this district and participating mayors have a vote. So Kara would attend those meetings on your behalf, bring that back to you. You would decide on how to vote, and she would go and be your proxy to vote on your behalf. But majority rules on this district, so as they apply, for funding or push projects, it's going to be the board. You're just going to be one of 16 votes.
But if there's one negative vote, then it gets canceled, correct?
No, I think it's going to be a majority vote. But she will definitely come to you. When there is a vote that needs to be made on your behalf, she will present it to you, you'll vote, and then she would go and, like I said, be your proxy. Right now, they're just applying for funding and projects and stuff, and so that region, it's been working like this for a while as the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. They're just creating this new district to kind of have it a little bit more formal. They are going to have some authority to levy taxes if they need to by the vote of the people. So this is just really some housekeeping. ordinances that we're passing to make sure that we're codifying everything in compliance with the state legislator,
That
their
vote
state
of the
statute.
people is as a whole in all districts together.
Sorry?
The vote of the people encompasses
Oh,
all
yes.
6 or 7 districts.
Yes, it's, I think it's like 7 parishes and multiple cities. So they're not even looking at passing a tax or anything like that. This is just a district that the state legislator created so they could participate, they could manage all the watershed regionally, and they would have some governing authority and taxing authority should they need to ask the people's permission. So it's just codifying things through the legislative. And you are one of 16 that's going to vote.
And also, Ms. Katie, which I know you just, the administrator, you're not really tied too much in it, but I know you probably know quite a bit. Pretty much this whole project, all the water is gonna come through us, correct?
Yes.
To get there, so.
Yes.
Whether you-
This is mainly your Mermentau Basin region.
I know the administration before us, or the jury before us, was pretty against this, correct?
No, they just didn't want to vote because it came up at the end of their term, and they thought that it would be a decision better left to you guys. So they just tapped the brakes and gave you guys the opportunity. So that is on the agenda. The next thing is your HR director. I am requesting permission to create a human resource director position. The job description would entail things like assistance in hiring and firing personnel, creating policies and disciplinary action of employees, assist in identifying deficiencies in our human resource or payroll department, identifying those deficiencies, creating strategies to address them. Right now, I think our software that we currently use to do all payroll and HR management is more than 15 years old. I'm sure there is probably better software out there to date. And so we just want to create this position, take some of the burden off of our accounting department, who they're more educated and experienced in just accounting principles. And we want to get someone in here that has graduated with an HR degree, and they're going to bring that expertise here. I think there's probably a better way that we could do things. We could serve our employees in a better and more efficient manner if we had someone with the expertise to come in and show us and assist our department heads in training. So that's the position that I'm asking for you guys to create. I'm asking for authority to advertise to fill that position. The pay scale will go between 30 and 80,000. And so I'm asking for permission to advertise, interview, and come back to you with a recommendation, and then we would set their salary depending on experience. The next agenda item is 26. You are going to consider bids for the Mermentau Inundation Phase 2 project. This is 100% funded by disaster CDBG funds. We do have our engineer in the audience, so if you have any technical questions, now would be a good time to ask them. If not, we'll consider the bids. The lowest bid is right now is recommended bidders MNC, which is a local firm. Another agenda item that's you're probably not going to be too familiar with is agenda item 9, the Waterworks per diem. When we consolidated the Waterworks districts, we wanted to make sure that they were going to get reimbursed for their travel and their time to sit on these boards. So we are asking to amend our ordinance to include $60 per diem for our 5 board members.
Ms. Katie, I got a question about that.
Yes, sir.
We got a consolidated board,
Yes,
but the funds ain't consolidated.
correct.
What's the legality to that?
So with each board member, whatever district they were representing would get paid out of that water board's funds, which they currently are getting paid out of it right now. So the Cameron appointee gets paid out of Cameron. The Creole appointee gets paid out of Creole. Whatever district they live in, that's the one that they're going to get.
Speaking with them, they said that they ain't been getting paid because of it's a consolidated board and the funds ain't consolidated.
I think they haven't been paid because we didn't have an ordinance that allowed it.
Paid because of this.
Yeah, this
I
is
just-
us fixing
Being the
it.
funds ain't consolidated, I didn't know the legality to that, and a couple other things. So I just kind of raised concern, just because, I mean, if the funds was consolidated, I think, you know, there would be a no-brainer. Just want to make sure, being it's kind of.
Right, no, so, like I said, they were getting paid out of their original waterwork district. So like I said, Cameron was getting paid out of Cameron. They had an ordinance that allowed for them to get paid, and it set the amount. Creole and Grand Chenier, when we consolidated the boards, the per diem part was left out of that ordinance. So that's why they weren't allowed to get reimbursed. So we are creating that as part of the ordinance, so that authority will exist, and then they'll be able to bill for it.
When we appointed them to the board, did we appoint them to each district, or is that considered all one, like the appointment, is that all the same district?
It is one geographical boundary district, but it is individual taxing districts right now. You have 2 from Cameron, 2 from Creole, 2 from Grand Chenier. Well, we had to change the law to get that extra one, but you do have one from each taxing district.
And I'm sure Mr. Tom will pass his eyes over this just to make sure the legality to it, correct?
Yes, I'm sure you will.
Okay, that's all I'm worried about, so.
And we do have an independent auditor who will also take a look at it.
Just kind of was iffy. I know the last project, we had a couple concerns. I just want to make sure everybody's on the up and up. So.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's really all I had, and while Ms. Robin makes her way up here to talk about the permits, I think it would be a good time for Mr. Johnny to talk about agenda item 24, which is expanding ambulance district.
Yes, we had some issues in the last year that realized that we have no support in our area. We have a lot of elderly people. The 2 incidents we had, service wasn't but an hour and a half away. Yeah, so we brought this, I asked them to look into it. The people in my area have mentioned it. So we're trying to consolidate, get into the District 2 area where we can get some support and possibly down the road save a life. So that's where we are on that.
In addition to Mr. Johnny's, there's an appointment for a ambulance District 2 member. Ms. Phyllis Doxey resigned. If y'all want to table that until these 2 boundaries are included, and if he has a representative from his area, that would be something for y'all to consider as well.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions on the 3 permits on the agenda? Tennessee Gas Pipeline, Chenier Creole Trail, and Melvin Road.
I guess my only thing is when we do the permit, can we stipulate, I know a lot of times they abandon them in place, and then I guess that's just the biggest thing, because we just went through this lawsuit with things like that, and then we handing out permits that keeps allowing them to abandon them in place, which I know the legality is maybe it's less harmful to the environment to leave them, but in times to come, once they rust out, it creates a problem. I guess that would be my only concern with them, is that, you know, actually issuing them ain't, it just, I know different ones says different things, and I think they said it might be up to the landowner as far as abandoning in place or not.
I can get with Kara whenever she returns and put that request in.
Okay, that's the only thing I was curious, looking out, you know, for the future when they abandon.
Okay.
Goes by landowner generally. Any questions? Danny? Good.
I have one more, Mr. President, I want to just throw out there so you're familiar with it. It pertains to number 18, which there a motion to grant authority to get appraisal for some property. And what it was, the past year was built very nice opening. Well, the problem is everybody in their brother wants to use it now. And there's only space for probably 9 boats, truck trailers. And he has some adjacent property which would come close to doubling that. Now, this is not at all times, but the issue came up because they were parking anywhere they could, which was private property, blocking driveways. It was just out of hand. He was really frustrated with it. And I felt like being that we spent the money on the landing, the dock, the lease, that we should at least offer public landing, public parking where they don't clog up the roads and stuff over there. So this is why I brought it to our attention, and we're asking just the authority to appraise it, see if it's feasible, see if we can agree to it. So that's what that's about.
Have you, spoken with him any at all, Mr. John? Would he be willing to even talk to us?
Oh, yeah, we've met. Like I said, we gotta go through the formalities. They had, it takes time, but he has agreed to look at it. And
He sent me in writing. I've asked him, and he sent it to us in writing, asking us to go ahead and do the appraisal, that he would be interested in leasing the property to us.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I've got.
So just to kind of give y'all, on item 16 and 17, it's motions to ratify resolutions for calling elections. The boards have passed the resolutions to call the elections, but being y'all are the governing authority, y'all just have to ratify their resolutions. It's not y'all calling, it's ratifying them calling. Also on item 23, the records retention officer has to keep a log of all of the documents for the police jury, from grants, payroll. Every 5 years, I have to fill out a form and send it into the Secretary of State for the State Archives that says that we are abiding by the law of records retention, and we're keeping files for so many years on site, so many years off site. Then once the terms expire, there's a form that we fill out and send into the State Archives to get their permission to dispose of them. This is this time because we're on the state's fiscal year, so this is a separate appointment from the one that y'all appoint in February. That's what that's for.
One other thing, on the, in Grand Lake, I know Mr. Ron Johnson's actually in here, but his, term expired on the fire board. And, they're already short, so now they're short 2 members.
Did they find anybody, Mr. Ron?
Oh, well, Scott and, the jury members know more about that. I'm gonna let them talk about it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. John.
So, a couple of things. On the ambulance district, so you're adopting, or will adopt an ordinance that geographically includes that area. It had not historically been included. There now will also have to be put on the ballot a tax for the whole, to now tax that area. That's that concept that y'all decide the geographical boundaries, so y'all are going to enlarge the boundaries, but there still has to be an election to now tax those people, because they haven't, Klondike and Lowry's not voted to be taxed for an ambulance district, so they have to vote and approve that. And because it's an expansion of a district and not a I've had advised the ambulance district they need to hire what we consider, what we call bond counsel or tax counsel, Ms. J. Delafield used to do for the police jury, hire somebody to manage that election because the dynamics are a little unusual. So just to let you know that even though we're enlarging the district, technically they're not being taxed yet, and they'll have to vote on that tax.
So would the election fall under the entire district or just the?
I think it's the entire district, but I don't know. That's why we need to hire special counsel, because that is an unusual situation, and I don't know. I may be wrong. That's why. And I've put the ambulance district and a gentleman named Matt Kern. Matt took over Jay's Delafield's book of business, and So Matt's involved. Matt is who helped Matt Kern helped the port with their loan process their process of buying some property. So Matt, they've already been introduced. They just have to engage him, and we'll take care of that. But from a tax perspective, we still have to have a vote. I don't know the answer.
A lot of people in my area realize that, but this is kind of like at least getting.
Well, there you go.
around.
I didn't know you were here.
I wanted to let you know that it is on the agenda for May 14th for us to hire counsel of Matt Kern. So that is on that agenda. We are looking into that.
Good.
I guess just for public knowledge here, once we vote on this, the ambulance district can respond to that area, but it will be charged to the people until the taxes.
I don't know how the ambulance charges for use of their services. I don't, so Ron, come on back up.
Okay, so at present, if you're in our taxing district, you do not pay out of pocket. We accept insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, but you don't pay out of pocket. That's what that tax does. At current, because the other taxpayers may not want to pick up their bill because they're not paying taxes, we would have to charge them.
Correct.
But as of right now, we can't even respond to that area because we'd be responding with other taxpayers' money, and they're not even in the boundaries.
But the question is after our vote, y'all can respond, but there might be charges coming along.
Yes, sir, that's
And I don't
correct.
think if it's life threatening, I don't think anybody's really worried about the charges. I mean.
Yeah,
Yes,
that is correct.
That's a fair statement, Bill, that, yeah, that Klondike Lowry's still, that if there's a response, they would have to pay just as, if we respond to someone outside the district.
Correct.
And the
that-
vote today is only to advertise. They can't start responding until y'all actually adopt the boundaries.
Yeah.
We're just getting started.
I'm not a whole lot familiar. I mean, I passed through there. Where is do we have an ambulance place located on your end, Mr. Johnny? You know, as far as.
And Klondike Lowry? No, sir, they have to wait on Acadian to respond.
Because it hasn't been part of the taxing district.
Yes. In the future, we would be looking at having a facility.
That would be my goal. I would hope that would happen, yes, sir, after speaking to people out there, they need it.
Yes, I would like to see that.
Yeah, I think that's the objective is.
Yeah, okay.
Expand the district, tax the district, provide services to the district.
I didn't know, maybe like in Klondike, maybe we had an area and then maybe it was Gaydon or something.
Out of Jennings, if they
Okay.
happen to be in town.
Yep. Okay, I was just curious, trying to.
Okay. Any other questions? And you guys all have my email if you need me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing I'll just mention while I'm up here, item number 13 is the golf carts. We have not included the utility vehicles, however, but it's a very simple, we can go, that would be step number 2. If we can adopt an ordinance regarding those utility vehicles, and then designate what parish roads you want to allow it, because I know some of you are less amenable to, or acceptable, your people are less acceptable to those UTVs as opposed to golf carts. So I know Chelsea's been emailing y'all, so if y'all would just let her know that yes, I want all or some of my roads included, just respond and we will draft the ordinance to be adopted.
To get that moving, because I know the golf carts, we did it attention upon drawing the ordinance up, we voted. This time, we just let y'all know who's in favor, who's not, and then we'll vote on it once you adopt it, or?
So as far as the golf cart ordinance goes, I actually had sent y'all the final copy in April 8th before the last meeting, and all of y'all were in agreement except Mr. Watson's district. So it was similar to this case, and I actually got responses from everybody, and y'all were gonna maybe work on the part in maybe the District 4, is it? But everybody else responded. Mr. Sam's still needing to maybe talk to his constituents. Or you want him ready to move forward with it?
Golf cart, yes.
With the utility terrain. So golf cart is finalized.
My district is not concerned about UTV at this point.
Okay, so golf cart is finalized. It was written, it was finalized in April. It was advertised. It's on the agenda to vote on today. So we're good with golf carts. Utility terrain, I was gonna make a separate ordinance only concerning utility terrain, totally separate from the golf cart, which it is prepared. except for one of the sections that is gonna exclude areas that don't wanna participate or let it be allowed in there. But I've gotten responses from pretty much everyone, so I'll, put the geographical boundaries in and resend it to y'all. So that's just an update on that. But as far as golf carts go, those are fine. That's finalized.
There you go.
Your Public Works Superintendent, Mr. Shane Manuel, has 2 items on the agenda today. If you guys have any questions, he's gonna address those with you.
Number 20. To abandon Andrew Road, you got any questions on that? It's in Mr. Marks' district.
Is that the one we looked at?
Yes, sir.
For Mr. Doxey now?
Yes, sir.
Nobody's, contested?
We gotta advertise after y'all vote.
Oh, after-
We won't accept it until the June meeting.
Right.
And if I get anything in, y'all will be aware of it then.
And then
Yes.
number 21 being Mr. Johnny and Mr. Denny's district to change the speed limit from 45 to 55.
And
Bruce
it's an
Order Road.
advertisement
Fort
as
Red Road.
well.
What's the reasoning for that?
I was asked to put it on the agenda.
I'm just curious, cause I went and looked at it, I know, it's to do the whole road from the curve to the parish line?
384 to Calcam line, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Calcan line already has a 55 on it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just, once you pass, we get to Little Mexico and then they start with a bunch of homes, cause my thing is, Robinson Road, and I think that's LaBeouf Road, is it cut across? Those are both at 45 with way less more house. Robinson Road only has 1 house.
Yes, sir.
The other one has maybe a total of 4, so I didn't know what was the purpose of the concern to
So Danny asked to put it on the agenda, so.
Just people traveling up would rather go up to 55 because the cops just stay there all the time. It's 55 in front of my house, you know, and it's 55 right at Cox Road when you come in. So I asked probably 15, 20 people up and down the street and they didn't mind it. They would, you know, they'd participate in, you know, going forward with it, so I just put it on there.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, cause if so, I know, that road would probably be utilized by a bunch of, you know, people that live in Grand Lake or going to Grand Lake, you know, coming from town.
Yes.
And I know, so like to get to maybe Grangerville or coming south, I know I travel Robertson Road just cause I'm cut across and, so that was my reason.
I guess it's just traveled a lot more and, you know, they felt comfortable at 55.
That'll work.
Fauna Rat actually ends at LaBeouf, is that right?
What's that?
Yes.
Fauna Rat ends at LaBeouf.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then Bruce
Then
Order.
Bruce Order takes off to the parish line. Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
No other questions? Any other agenda items?
So the 2 add-ons are gonna be for the police jury to assume the ground lease from the port for Cameron Fisheries property and for the police jury to utilize insurance funds from the Cameron Fisheries to move forward with ice machine repairs. Oh, and add Marietta Fire Station to executive session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.